Now, the tourism sector was among the industries hardest hit by the COVID-19 lockdown. It's only under level 2 lockdown that the industry is coming back to life. Stats SA released figures showing the total income for tourist accommodation decreased by 95.3% in June this year compared to the same period last year. President Cyril Ramaphosa will be addressing the nation tonight at 7 p.m. There may be some good news coming out for the tourism industry. So let's now speak and discuss what the president may announce and what the tourism industry is expecting. Tourism and Hospitality Advisory, the advisor Gillian Saunders joins us now. She's a consultant in that space. Gillian, good afternoon to you. Thank you for your time on ENCA. It's been a long, devastating journey for the tourism industry. You've been calling for the opening up of international borders. That appeal may be granted this evening. How will that help the sector recover?
Good afternoon, Clements, and thanks very much. Well, we would be hoping that the President will open the international borders, perhaps with sort of a 2-week notice period, and then all international borders, because we really believe that the international tourism is also not going to come back in its entirety just like it was before. It's going to be a very slow, pedantic growth, and we sort of need every little bit of international visitors that we can get. We've been consulting with people in the medical sphere and ambassadors and the like, and there seems to be a fairly good appetite for the industry to open, our borders to open. And also we are reliably informed, and it makes a lot of common sense, that it doesn't matter where these tourists are coming from, whether they're coming from SADC countries or they're coming from overseas countries. We're at a point in our pandemic where it's called we're managing it. We're living with this virus. All of us potentially have it at any time. We are traveling around South Africa, and there's 58 million of us doing that. And there would be, if foreign tourism was back at its previous levels, which it never will be, another 350,000 foreigners mixing with us with equal potential of perhaps having COVID. And that's why we have protocols for the foreign tourists or for us.
Yeah.
And perhaps to just answer your question, inbound tourism is our second biggest export industry. It's worth about 8.7% of our exports, and it's 120 billion rand of foreign exchange that we're bringing each year. Vitally important to our balance of payments. And we need all our borders open so that we can start to grab some more of that market and some more of that business and some more of that foreign exchange.
Yeah, and when those borders open, what message will it be sending out?
Well, I think for the people in the travel and tourism trade in our global source markets, it sends a very important message that we're open for business and we want to still be in this industry. At the moment, there's a lot of concern by our trade partners overseas that we are perhaps not going to open, or we're going to open with very strict requirements, and we need to avoid those strict requirements like quarantine, for instance, or any additional visa requirements. Otherwise, what's happening is the rest of our continent is opening, and other destinations, be they Thailand, Turkey, Caribbean, but Rwanda, Kenya, Namibia, Zambia are all opening for foreign tourism. And the trade and the visitors are going to choose somewhere else instead of South Africa. So we stand to lose our high season, which is coming up now, through sort of October to March next year. And we know that that also means that our following high season will be dented as well, because there are long lead times. And once the trade has swung and they're putting other countries on their packages and on their promotional material, and we've got to fight to get back there.
Have you been advocating for the full opening of our borders or just on the continent, I suppose, for now?
So it doesn't really make any difference. You know, if a person comes from Botswana or a person comes from Kenya or a person comes from Germany or England, as long as we choose the countries that are at similar pandemic levels, similar levels of magnitude. If it's a very, very high-risk country, perhaps there should be different requirements. So, for instance, many other countries open up for international travel have categorized their markets in green, amber, and red. So red might be a country that's got high levels of pandemic, perhaps like Brazil. Green might be one in the middle, maybe like France at the moment. And green would be places like Germany and the UK, which are on pretty low levels of the pandemic. So you might say the red ones would need quarantine. The amber ones might need a COVID-free test just before they depart. And the rest should be able to come in. It doesn't matter whether they come from the continent or anywhere else in the world. It's the same protocols and the same risk, and the risk can be managed by following the health protocols, which, of course, wasn't in place in March when this thing spread around the world. So now we know how to live with it. We know how to sanitize, to distance, to wear masks, etc., etc. So we can live with this. We know how to manage it.
Yeah, and I guess there's also some work that the industry has to do to get people to know that they will be safe if they travel. I mean, let's look at the conditions that you have just spoken about now that may be attached to the borders opening. That may discourage people from visiting and exploring our country. Some people are still uncomfortable to travel. So I guess what I'm asking is, it may take some time for things to get back to normal, but there are also some things that may, stand as impediments to people coming and exploring the country, which may include those conditions.
I think you're right there, Clemens, but if you look around the world, there's not a single country that hasn't had some sort of imposing of conditions. Even Sweden had distancing and sanitizing in place. So most people are living with this in their home countries. They are used to these protocols now. They're used to having to wash their hands, have their temperature taken. And we know that people are traveling already to other European destinations, other Caribbean destinations, and they're accepting these protocols at the airport, on the planes, on arrival in the destination. They're accepting having COVID tests. And yes, it won't be everybody. There are some reluctant travelers, some who are more fearful. But a lot of surveys have shown that, and I don't have those stats to hand, but it's 20 to 30% of people are happy to travel straight away. And in fact, a couple of surveys, the most latest was a luxury travel market show in the USA, had a survey about where would you go to if you're going to travel, and South Africa was #1. And it's not the first survey we've been #1. And why is that? It's because actually people who know our destination know that we're coming through to summer, we have big open spaces, our life is an outdoor life, we are not crowded beaches, we are not crowded nightclubs. That's not the experience that we typically offer most of our tourists. So they see it as an option to come and escape to open spaces, open outdoors, safari options, wilderness beaches and mountains and the like.
Yeah, and also infections are low, so that also somehow counts in that favor. Thank you so much for your time, Gillian. Gillian Saunders there, speaking about the address by President Cyril Ramaphosa this evening. He will be addressing the nation at 7 p.m. That address will be live here on ENCA.